Okay, hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please, let's settle. The federal government to distribute a 500 billion naira palliative, providing 8,000 naira to 12 million impoverished households in Nigeria for a 6-month period. While we acknowledge the government's efforts to alleviate poverty and offer temporary relief and assistance, we have reservations about the plan's long-term sustainability and inclusivity. First and foremost, it's imperative to assert that ActionAid Nigeria and Center for Social Justice are deeply committed to promoting social justice, facilitating transformative change, and eradicating poverty in Nigeria. Our collaboration today is rooted in our shared belief in the importance of effective and comprehensive interventions that uplift the most vulnerable populations and create sustainable long-term impact. We've identified several concerns with the federal government's plan, and it remains unclear how the money will be digitally transferred to the targeted households. Although we are aware of the lessons learned from previous palliative interventions when money was distributed to so many poor households, I think those lessons could come in handy in the distribution of the money this time around. Furthermore, we are deeply concerned about the lack of transparency and clarity regarding the criteria to be used by the federal government to identify the 12 million recipients of the cash transfer. Without a clear and inclusive selection process, there is a risk of uneven distribution where deserving individuals or regions may be left out, while others who may not be in dire need will mostly receive the funds, thereby undermining the intended purposes of poverty alleviation. It's imperative for the federal government to consider the larger socioeconomic context in which this cash transfer plan is being implemented. The removal of fuel subsidy, as announced by the President, has contributed to high inflation rates across the country. While the proposed monthly disbursement of 8,000 may provide some temporary relief, it is unlikely to significantly cushion the impact of inflation on the livelihoods of the poor. We must consider the long-term effects and sustainable solutions needed to address the root causes of poverty. In the light of this, ActionAid Nigeria and Center for Social Justice jointly call on the federal government to consider a more robust and sustainable mechanism that prioritizes financial inclusion and targets the most vulnerable populations effectively. This includes exploring alternative methods of digital transfer that can easily reach the unbanked and leverage technology to ensure transparency and accountability in the selection process. The federal government must also remain vigilant, as there is a high likelihood of the same concerns of corruption and mismanagement that plagued previous palliative programs, resurfacing with officials and individuals potentially exploiting the distribution process for personal gain. In the light of these concerns, we are putting forward the following recommendations. 1, the federal government should engage organized labor, the private sector, professionals, women, and the public in good faith disclosure and negotiation with relevant information to design social intervention programs that cushion the hardship in critical sectors such as transport, agriculture, or food, and health. The cushioning measures should be comprehensive and reinforce each other. 2, cash transfers to the poorest of the poor on the National Social Register, provided the funds are not from borrowed money but from savings. but the transfers must be built around increased transparency and accountability, access to information and monitoring by all interested parties, including the media and civil society. And the National Social Register must be continually updated to take out persons who, though previously poor, but have now left that category, and include new persons who have recently fallen into that category. Of course, without deceased persons whose name may still be on the register. 3, consider the introduction and local production of compressed natural gas-powered buses and vehicles for mass transit to reduce transportation costs for the poor. Such buses must be produced or assembled in Nigeria to create jobs and increase corporate income tax accruing to the government. Number 4, review the minimum wage to ensure that it adequately meets the needs of workers, setting it at a level of not less than 100,000 naira per month. 5, increase resources allocated to social health insurance, ensuring that all individuals on the National Social Register have access to health care without the burden of paying premiums. 6, accelerate the revitalization of existing refineries and support the production efforts of private sector refineries to avoid monopolies in the oil refining sector. Importation of refined products takes between 25 to 30% of external foreign exchange demands, so that once you stop this, will also reduce the pressure on the naira vis-a-vis the dollar. 7, expedite the reconciliation of accruals to the Federation account from NNPC Limited through the establishment of a high-level committee or the optimization of existing committees. And 8, guarantee security across Nigeria, especially in food belts, to enable Nigerians go back to farm to produce food and increase agriculture's contribution to GDP. It's imperative to direct resources towards boosting the agricultural sector, especially targeting small-scale farmers who produce the bulk of the food with access to farming inputs. Create productive linkages between agriculture and industries, as this will stimulate productivity, employment, and bring down the prices of domestic products. ActionAid Nigeria and Center for Social Justice strongly encourage the federal government to put more efforts towards expanding domestic production and raising demand for locally made goods and services. Inclusive engagement from the community to the state and national levels is necessary to generate the required critical mass. This is in addition to engaging meaningful dialogue with civil society organizations and experts to formulate policies and programs that are grounded in evidence and promote sustainable development. Just a little bit, but it's not written down here. You know, when you are discussing palliatives, recently at approval stage in the National Assembly, everybody heard about the 70 billion, okay? And it's important we put it in the proper context that 70 billion, I dare say, was not within the contemplation of the provisions of the Constitution, and I dare further add that it may be illegal because the remuneration allowances of National Assembly members are as recommended by RAMFAC and also approved by the same National Assembly. If you look at the 2023 budget of the National Assembly, they have a sum of money that they've never taken before. It is for a total of 227 billion. So they have made provisions for everything they need. So the extra 70 billion that they took, without telling us what they're doing with it, is clearly out of context and cannot be justified by constitutional provisions. And also does say that the 35 billion given to the judiciary without details of what it's to be used for is also not properly done. So finally, we recommend that alongside prioritizing public participation and feedback to foster a sense of ownership, the federal government must underscore the importance of strict enforcement and punishment measures to deter corruption and mismanagement of these funds, thereby enhancing the program's integrity, building public trust and confidence, and ensuring that targeted assistance reaches those who truly need it. ActionAid Nigerian Center for Social Justice remain committed to working with the government and other stakeholders to develop comprehensive solutions that addresses poverty and exclusion in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done.
Thank you.
In Nigeria, we are working, our current strategy is on social justice to end poverty. And we are seeing more Nigerians falling below the poverty line. From the National Bureau of Statistics, we now have over 140 million Nigerians in multidimensional poverty. And what that is saying is that if you can get statistics from a government agency saying 140, if you add 2 and 2 together, you have more than that, in many times. But that's a dimension. And we are also preparing for flooding. We are told that there's going to be more flooding. What that recognizes is that more people are going to go below the poverty line. There has to be a connection between the past and the present. Issues of continuity has always been a problem, and we hope that the current government is not going to fall into that. ActionAid was involved in the National Social Investment Program. We had technical, assistance that we were able to lend to the government, the agency that was implementing that. And now we are here, and there is a pronouncement of this 500 billion. We are worried, but like my colleague has said, we need things that can generate employment. Unemployment is at its highest level. And so we need to do something that can create more jobs for young Nigerians. There's so many, energetic Nigerians that's qualified and really there. I always say that the population is a blessing, not a curse. And we need to plan for our population. Planning for that is that you need to invest in the human capital. You need to also prepare for how you will consume the capital that you have. And so it's our honest opinion, we are calling on the federal government, because this is not the time you spend money anyhow. If you look at even 100,000 that we are talking about, if you convert it to the naira, to the dollars, how much is it? This government has also, pulled up the devaluation of the naira has come to another level. And so we are coping with staff, we are coping with so many people who we don't know what to do. So the purchasing power of every Nigerian has decreased tremendously. What do we do from there? And so we're looking forward to how, the issues of transparency and accountability. A lot of corruption still bedevils the system. And we need to be able to show that. The way the government is going to make its appointments, the way the government is going to carry on issues, will let us know that it's also going to welcome transparency and accountability. And we worry about the community. We worry about the millions of Nigerians that have fallen below the poverty line, and the issues of insecurity that is still bedeviling us. So many other things coming up, we need to prepare ourselves for it. You need to do research. Anything that you are making a pronouncement about should be research, evidence-based. What is the evidence? What are you talking about 12 million Nigerians? Where did that come from? And how are you going to do that when you have about 140 million that are below this level? And so we are asking that they take a step backward and look at where they are going. Where are you coming from? Let's have some continuity. What are you going to do? We have the Ministry of Humanitarian, Social Development and Disaster, so many cluster of things together. Let's take a look and put Nigerians first. And we hope that whatever they are doing, if anything without sustainability, is just a waste pipe. And so we want to see transparency and accountability. Look at the National Assembly asking for more money. Or are you giving them more money? Maybe they didn't even ask for it because we didn't see any request, but you want to give them money. You are giving more money to the judiciary. For what? We have no backing. And so we want clarity on this, and we have the right to ask questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
What that technically means is between July last year and July this year, the minimum wage has been reduced from 30,000, if it was 30,000 then, if it was, it has been reduced from 30,000 to about 23,000. That is what it literally means. So it means that the money, the minimum wage, that's civil servants, that worker is taking home. That was 30,000 last year, June. As of this year, the worth of that money is now 23,000. If nothing is done, by this time next year, it will further reduce again by another 6,000 or 7,000 naira, using last year as the base year. Very simple. So inflation is eroding purchasing power of the citizens. World Bank came up with a report 2 weeks ago and says that 4 million Nigerians, additional 4 million Nigerians, were thrown into poverty between January and June, 6 months. And that additional 7 million will be thrown into poverty by end of the year. So these are the facts that are facing us. So we're talking about real life situations that are affecting the poor. So with the palliative that is being brought up, the 8,000 that we're talking about, yes, it's a step, but we can do much better. 11 trillion naira will be saved from the subsidy removal by end of next year, by end of 2025, sorry, by end of 2025. So 11 trillion naira will be saved. So what will those resources be used for? How will they be used? Our major concern should be, how do we ensure that it's small and, so there are lots of fiscal and monetary measures that the government can deal with. And for us as civil society, it's not just about us throwing stones and giving, saying what needs to be done. We are available to support and work with the government to ensure that these things happen. We have seen it happen in India, we have seen it happen in China, we have seen it happen in other countries. So we are available to work. Our focus, our concern is the poor and vulnerable. How do we support and get them out of poverty? So with inflation having tendency to keep increasing, it means that more persons will fall into poverty. So what do we do? How do we ensure that the small and medium-scale enterprises, which is the life wire of the economy, those ones are functioning? We should be looking at tax holiday for them, looking at measures that will ensure that they have electricity supply so that they will employ more people, get people out of poverty. Those are some measures of fiscal measures. There are lots of other measures that we can put in place, and these have been shown to deliver results in other countries. Why would Nigeria join it? If in the morning we remove subsidy and we're saving subsidy, then in the evening you are giving more money to the parliament, citizens will of course raise questions. It's natural. These were part of the fears we had. These monies we are saving, oh, we're going to, citizens should sacrifice. But if citizens are sacrificing, the parliament, the executive, the judiciary, everybody should also sacrifice. What are we cutting? So what is the government putting on the table? And this is what we are sacrificing because of all of these measures that we are putting in place. We are available to support in responding to this emergency that we have in our hand. Thank you.
Thank you.